Unit 4, Lesson 4.1, Millionaires. In this unit, you're going to have a look at the use of must, have, or have to, and should. And we're going to look at personal qualities in terms of vocabulary. Be careful with the pronunciation. Qualities, don't say qualities, qualities. And we're going to talk about work. Also, mind the pronunciation. It's not work, it's work. It's like a long E. Work. Okay, so first activity, vocabulary, personal qualities. It says read about the qualities people need to do their jobs. Which jobs do you think they are talking about? Okay, the first job will comprise 2 words. The second one is given to you in the platform, and the third one is a one-word word or expression. The next activity consists of matching the words and phrases in bold. So these like motivated, risk-taker, ambitious, to think outside the box, good communicator, hard-working, indecisive, good leader, competitive. Put them and match them with the definitions here. So number 1, for instance, work with a lot of effort. That would be hard-working. And you have to complete the others. Then we'll go to page 151 to the vocabulary bank. On page 151, you need to look for this banner, personal qualities, and the activity consists of completing the sentences with the adjectives in the box. We have reliable, sensible, easygoing, aggressive, clever or bright, honest, lazy, punctual, moody, and independent. When you're going to use these 2 which are synonyms, just use clever. And remember that you can use bright as well, but for the platform, just use clever. We'll move back to page 44. Then we'll move to activity 5, grammar, where we are going to see the use of must, have to, and should with the sense of obligation. It is match the words in bold. So these don't have to, must, should, shouldn't, mustn't. Be very careful with the pronunciation of all of them. Should, the L is mute. It doesn't sound at all. Mustn't, the T here doesn't sound. But here in the positive, must. Okay, here you really need to make an effort and pronounce the last consonant, the last T. So what you need to do is just like in the example, you've got, for instance, you should enjoy your work. It's a good idea. Okay, so this is the paraphrase or the meaning of the sentence, and you have to do the same for the others. In the platform, you'll just have to write the letter. Okay, so 1 is B, right? Or sorry, 4 is A. Okay, then we'll move to language bank on page 134, and there we'll have a look at the part that belongs to lesson 4.1, where we have a look at the construction first. Okay, in the positive, I must, they have to, we must. This is invariable, all of them, except for these. When you have a third person singular, you use she has, because it comes from the verb to have, or to have got. Then in the negative, again, mustn't or must not. This is the contracted form, but remember that in the negative you don't pronounce the T. And then the negative of have to is don't have to, just like the negative of play is don't play. And remember also that for the third person singular, there is this exception, doesn't, for the negative. And the same goes for the questioning, for questions, interrogations, does for the third person, or do for the others. And then we've got this, must you go? They put an asterisk here saying that they are not very common. It's not very common to use this in a question. Instead of that, you normally use have to. Then you have, when we use them, we use must and have to talk about obligations, things that are necessary or important. Must is often used for a personal obligation, something you decide, not something that is imposed by another person. So the difference is really very thin, very subtle, okay? But if there's any difference, must implies that you are forcing yourself to do something, to etc. There you have examples. Like I said, you can use must or have to with the same meaning. And in spoken English, to use have to is a little bit more common. Okay. And then the problem comes with the negative of those expressions, because don't have to and mustn't have totally different meanings. Well, not totally, but different meanings. Mustn't means it is not allowed. It's a prohibition, okay? However, does not, the don't have to or doesn't have to means that it's not necessary. It's possible if you want to, but it's not necessary. And there you've got examples to see the difference. In Spanish, this could be you mustn't is prohibido hacer algo, and you don't have to, no hace falta que. Then we've got spoken grammar here, where it says that has got or have got means the same, or has got to means the same as have to. And it's used a lot in spoken English. I've got to go, for instance. I have to go, they are synonym expressions. Then they also say that should is a weaker obligation. So must and have to are stronger. So often is more, should is more like a recommendation. Once you finish reading that part, you need to do activities 1 and 2 on the following page. The first one, you have a text entitled The Worst Jobs in the World, and for every number here you have 2 options. In this case, should or shouldn't. Okay, what you have to do in the platform will be to write the correct one. In this case, it would be should. Okay, you have to do the same one for number 2, number 3, etc. And in the second one, you have a matching activity in which you have to complete sentences. These are the 2 halves of sentences. The first one would be, it's a good time, it's a good job, but we have to work hard. So one, and you write in the platform letter A, just that. Go back to page 45 and proceed to do activity 6A, in which you have to make sentences with the prompts using positive or negative from the verb form in brackets. So in the first example, you've got this prompt. A prompt means that you have something to help you, something to start with that has to remind you, that has to trigger the rest of the sentence in this case. So you have postman get up early in the morning, and the verb is to have to, obviously, because we're talking about obligation, and we have a positive form. So the sentence is postmen have to get up early in the morning. Okay, and you'll have to do the same for the others and write the complete sentences in the platform. Next, we'll move to page 151, to the vocabulary bank. So in this activity, we have to match the description here with one of the professions or jobs in here. We've got window cleaner or window washer, but they use cleaner, personal assistant, and accountant. So you have to read them and match them in the platform. Very easy. This activity is not in the platform. However, you should look at it because you very frequently confuse those words. Actually, those are false friends. A lot of people think this means actualmente, and it doesn't mean that. It means realmente. The same goes for career. Career is your professional career. So your whole life, your curriculum vitae, for instance, will include your career, your professional career. Okay, then be careful with borrow and lend, because they are complementary verbs. Okay, borrow in Spanish is tomar prestado, and lend is the action prestar. So the direction in which they go is opposite. Then we've got argument and discussion. A discussion is very common. We discuss in class a lot, but we don't have arguments. Arguments are peleas. To miss and to lose. Well, lose is more like in a game, and you miss the bus. You miss when you're shooting at someone and you miss. But have a look at your dictionary at all of these words, because you will see examples and you see how confused you are with a few of them at least. Then we'll move to the next page, page 46, activity 8. You simply have to decide in these two sentences which one is job and which one is work. Next, activity 9a says underline the correct alternative, or in the platform you will write the alternative. So between remember and remind, this is a very important activity, that you also remember not to confuse those words, forget and leave, hear and listen, etc. Okay, so this you do it by writing in the platform. Next is activity 10a. In this activity, again, you practice those confusing words. It says complete questions 1 to 6 with a suitable word from the previous activities 8 and 9. So the example goes, what are the best paid jobs in your country? Okay, so you're going to use words from these two activities, 8 and 9. Finally, we'll go to page 151 to the vocabulary bank activity. There, look at the confusing words activity, and we do it in there by just filling the gaps with the correct word. In this activity, for instance, I expected the first week in my new job to be awful, but actually it was fine. And then I am currently working in London, but before I was working in Paris, so at the moment, currently. Okay?